Hi guys, I'm coming at you from Hungary. I just got here last night and I just can't sleep because the time difference. So I'm just gonna get on my car and then start working on it because there was a little mishap with it while it was sitting at my friend's garage. This is a 1966 Fiat 1500 station wagon or Familiare, and I bought it so I can drive around Europe and make some road trips. And while it was sitting at my buddy's place, the other side, the brake cylinder actually just leaked out. So since I changed that last night at the place where this car was stored, I'm just gonna get on the other side today, and then I'm gonna change this side as well. So this time I'm gonna run the camera for you. So first, what we're gonna do is to take the hubcap off and remove the wheel, and then jack it up. The car has dual leaf springs, so we're just gonna use one of the leaf springs port to jack it up, and then we're gonna use these ones as jack stands because my body doesn't really have any jack stands to go work with. Now that it's jacked up, now we can remove the wheel from it. Do not use cinder blocks to block up a car because those can collapse. Or please don't trust in your hydraulic jack when you work under the car because that also could collapse. So now I'm just gonna remove the already loosened brake wheel lug bolts, and then we can get to the next step. So this is a very Fiat-like thing. There's a pin on it, and that's where you can position the rim when you put it on. So it helps you with the bolts when you put the bolts on. So my friend Joel's gonna remove that lug bolt. It's actually very nicely greased up, and just can remove the whole wheel. And here's the nice aluminum drum from 1966, and there are two bolts in it. You can see one is the pin, and then the other one is an actual little bolt there, but holding the positioning the brake drum on. Okay, so we're gonna remove the pin and then remove that little bolt, and then this drum can come off. This drum actually aluminum with a metal lining in it. So yeah, just pull it off, and then nicely it comes off, and then we can see the whole thing. So here's the unit. Looks like it was not leaking, but nonetheless, if I change one side, I will change the other because I don't know when this one gonna give away. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna let's see if the if the brake line nut will open on the other side. There is a line goes in on the other side. So first we're gonna remove the bleeder screw, and then we're gonna remove the brake line nut, and then we can pry apart the two shoes with a special tool I got from England. So here's two things I used. This is a wrench from O'Reilly's, and you can see it's a very sturdy brake line wrench, so it can go through the brake line, and then there's only like 6 angles, while whatever left of the 6th one, and then you can remove that nut. And this is the tool what I use to pry apart the brake shoes on drum brake systems, and then I don't need to remove all the springs and all, so I can just pry it apart with this, and then I can change the cylinder while the two brake shoes held apart. So let's do that now. So I got the this little clamp here which pulls the shoes apart. With this wrench I was able to operate it, and you can see the whole thing is moving. So now I can just remove the last little bolt with holding this unit on, the little cylinder on, and then it's supposed to just pop out, but I think I'm gonna have to pry on it a little bit. Okay, let's see, there's a screwdriver here. It's finally moved, and it's out. So there it is, and you can see the top one is the bleeder screw hole, the other one is the brake line hole, and then the two little holes for the two bolts but holding this in position. So now we can prepare the new one. Before I put one of these in, I always like to prep it a little bit, and then we can put it back on. Here's the new cylinder, and you can see there is a little protector in it which we're gonna remove because we're not gonna need it anymore. This is where the brake line gonna go in, and well, I'm probably gonna need 2 hands for it. No, it's out. And then we can take this bleeder screw out. It actually sits in the car like this, and that's the highest point of it. So we're just gonna get the new bleeder screw out, and then we're gonna take this apart because I want to make sure that it's, first of all, that it's clean, because at the manufacturing they always leave some manufacturing residue behind. and also I want to prep it with little greases. So there's 2 grease here. It says anti-seize lubricant. I'm gonna put this on the bolts, just a little bit on the bolt what I screw in this one, so if I have to change it 10 years from now, I'm gonna able to open it. I'm also gonna put a little bit on the new screw, the new bleeder screw on the thread, so it wouldn't rust in it, and also on the brake line itself, I'm gonna put that on, not at the end tip, but where the little nut moves, so make sure that wouldn't freeze up as well. Then I have this caliper grease. The caliper grease is made to lubricate the moving parts on the brake calipers, but I also use it to put some on the pistons what live inside this one. So because it's an old car, we don't use it too often, and then if you don't use it often, this will freeze, and then it's not going to move anymore. So I usually put a little caliper grease on these little pistons before I install these old car cylinders. So now we're just gonna remove these things, and then you can see the rest is there, and it comes out. So this is very simple, and there's a spring in the middle, and then on the other side, on the other cylinder, before I pulled it apart, I guess it was sitting on the shaft for so long that this rubber actually grown to the cylinder wall, and it was not moving at all. You can see that much black stuff came out of it. That's not a good thing. So now it's all clean. I'm gonna clean the other parts too. I'm gonna put a little bit of this well, it's actually, I think it was blue, a little blue caliper grease on it, and then grease it nicely up and put it all back together. It might not be the right thing to do for everyone, I don't know, but I'm doing this for a very long time, and that's usually what I do. I have a lot of old cars, and not all of them are actually running all the time, and since I'm doing this with them, the brake cylinders are not freezing up on me, so I can just drive them. I have several cars with drum brakes all over, like even on the front, and they work really well as well using this method. It doesn't have to be too much on it, and it cannot be regular grease. Regular grease will make it freeze up very fast. So I think I'm gonna need to clean this one a little bit, just to make sure it slides. These ones go back on, so this is how it sits, and then we can put the two, well, there we go. You can put the 2 cylinders back on, and then it should work very nicely. And then once we put it back on, then we're just gonna have to reinstall everything, bleed it, and then we can head on out. So now this thing gonna move very nicely. Well, it didn't come out on the other side. Yep. So now it's moving really nicely, and these things has to be oriented up and down to make sure that the calipers will sit in these grooves. Now with the anti-seize, we're just gonna put just a little bit. I'm gonna, this has maybe a little too much, just a little bit on it, so it would, when next time I'm trying to take it apart, it will come apart. Same thing we're gonna do with the bleeder screw, just a little bit on the threads, and then that will enable me to do this 10 years from now, because I'm planning on not selling this car for a while. I'm gonna put a little bit anti-seize on this part here where this little nut will sit, so I'm gonna be able to open it at a later date when I want to change that cylinder again. Now we got the new cylinder installed. The way I usually do this, at first I put the brake line on it, and then once the brake line on it goes in, then you can actually wiggle it a little bit and then make sure it doesn't side thread. And once it's loosely in, then I can push it in and then put the 2 other bolts on and then retighten everything. So now we're all ready for it. The bleeder screw is back on and it's tightened, and now we're just gonna release this, and then the 2 brake shoe will touch the pistons, and then basically it's the whole thing is reinstalled. Was it simple enough? I think it was. Before I put it back together, I'm gonna sand the shoes a little bit, and then there's two eccentric bolts on it, like that one, where you can adjust the shoes just like on a Volkswagen or some other drum brake operations. And then I don't think I'm gonna touch that right now. I think it looks fine. The other thing I should have done is to take everything off and grease up the part where this brake shoe touches the back plate. That can be greased with that caliper grease as well, but I just don't care enough right now in this early morning to do that. I've somewhat cleaned up the drum. There's no grease on it anymore. You can see those little holes on the side, these little ones. Those are actually there so you can adjust the brake shoes appropriately. You gotta measure the distance between them, the gap between the brake shoe and the brake drum. And then then the next thing what we're gonna do is we're gonna bleed the car. So we're gonna put this drum back on. We're gonna remove the other wheel as well. And then here's the bleeding screw, the old one. And I have a hose which I'm gonna fit it to the end. So when I'm gonna tell my friend we're gonna fill up the reservoir on the master cylinder, I'm gonna tell him to pump it 3 times. Then I'm gonna open this up, well, what's on the car. And then you can see that little hole there. Through this little hole, the fluid will come out. And then I'm gonna, while he's holding the brake down, I'm gonna close it again. And there's the part where it's gonna close. And then we're gonna take all the air out of it. The way you're usually supposed to do that is first you always start with the wheel the furthest away from the master cylinder. So first is gonna be the right rear, then the left rear, then the front right, left right. And then maybe we gotta do it again, and then we're done with it. I wanna show something for the Fiat enthusiasts. So I got 2 bolts here. One is a really stubby, weird looking one. That will go through this hole here and then go into the hub. And then there's the other one. It's a different thread, different size of hole that will go here to help you position the rim when you put it on. Then you have 2 other ones with threads in it. The reason for that is because you can reuse these bolts in those threads according to the manual, and you can put those in here, and then you can actually use them as a puller. So that will help you pull the whole thing off in case this whole thing is actually froze on it. So these 2 bolts actually serves as a puller device as well. The easiest way to do this is to put one of these wheel lock bolts in, and then you can position these 2 little screws just so, and then you can tighten them up with a 12mm socket, and then it will actually pulls it on the rear hub very nicely. Just gotta do both at the same time. Looks like the sun is coming up. We finished bleeding the car, so we're just gonna replace the little cap. There is a dust cap what goes on the bleeder screw. If I would show you, that's what I'm gonna just put back on, and then we're good to go. I've cleaned up the inside of the rim, and I put it on, and provisory I just tightened it up a little bit by hand. Now we're gonna let the car down on it, and then we're gonna retighten the bolts. When tightening these bolts, you're supposed to do one here and one there, one here, one there, like across, not just like this, but across. That's the sequence for it. The car is done, and now that the sun came up a little bit, I can show you around in the car. This is how it looks like. It's a 1966 Fiat 1500. And just in case you don't know what 1500 means in Italian, it says it there, 1500. Beautiful sign. That's why I fall in love with this little thing. It has a column shifter, 4-speed, and got a 1500. Very advanced engine on the front. This is what it looked like. And there was a 6-cylinder version of this engine in a larger car, but this is the little 4-cylinder one with a 1500cc. So the car is overall in a good usable shape. So I intend to go to Denmark this year, and next year I'm gonna go to France, do the N7 route, which is similar to Route 66 for the French. And then the year after that I want to go around Italy with this. OT, the license plate OT means old timer, so this is a classic car plate. It's really, really tricky and difficult and hard to get one of these, so that's a plus that it has that. It only has to do a safety inspection once every 5 years, and the safety inspection is a real ordeal over here. I want you to show show around a little bit. So this is my buddy's man cave here. He's got a motorcycle in here which is covered up. I hope he's gonna uncover it for me. And then there's a slot machine here, and many other pictures from the past. It's one of his favorite bikes. And then this was in shooting Vegas. He came to visit me, and then took him to Vegas, and then he was shooting with all kind of high caliber rifles and stuff. The music machine and all kind of other stuff. This one is an East German bike, an MZ in German, or MZ when you say it in Hungarian. This one is a 1981. And how many cc's? Mennyi köbcenti? 250 cc's, single cylinder motorcycle. But he also has a bunch of Harleys, which I want to show you. He also has a little Trabant, which is an East German car. I got 4 of these cars. 3 of them are in the US. And it's made out of cotton fiber stroke engine. And then here's his Harley garage. My buddy is a real biker guy. And next to the Harleys there's a little Simpson from East Germany also. These become really super expensive because many of these actually went back to Germany. But he bought this one in Kentucky, this Harley. And then he's restoring it, fixing it up so it would look original. And then he has a whole bunch of others. So this is Jolt. At summer times there is a Model T what sits here, but the Model T is in a museum, which I also gonna make a video of. That's where we're going today, to visit my friends there. And that's where Jolt's Model T resides for the winter time. Let's go do a little test drive with it, see if it actually works what we've done. And then we call it a day. Actually the day just starting. It works great. Well, looks like the operation was successful and the patient has survived. So thanks for watching, and then see you guys 2 weeks from now. Bye.